What's going on, everybody, and welcome to Challenge Accepted. I'm Thomas, and I'm here with Frank.
Hey, everybody.
We got a very special episode. I probably say that every week, but I mean it because this one goes back to my childhood. It is Kiki's Delivery Service. It's a Studio Ghibli movie, and it's something that me and my sisters have probably watched 20 times. I've only recently watched it as an adult, and man, I love this movie so much. What did you think about it?
It was really good. It was really great animation. They had like lower frame rates, which you'd expect from not only an anime, but also one from 1989.
30 FPS. Let's strike it down. Nobody
I think it was 24. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Like 24. Yeah.
I was kidding, just because of all that
oh yeah,
online hate for 30 FPS games.
Bro, yeah, the hate is real. And what's funny is as soon as you touch a 60 frames per second game and you play it at that, you're like, oh, I can't go back. This is is how it works. And so I feel it.
Gotcha.
But it was a beautiful game, or beautiful beautiful show, movie. I do feel like the pacing's a little slow, but is what you would expect from this era, and I have to keep that in mind. Like if you look at like Disney equivalents, this isn't like anything from Pixar. It's not even like the golden age of Disney. It's closer to like Fox and the Hound, and it's like, okay, that makes sense. Then it's about the pacing of Fox and the Hound, which is good. It's just that we've gotten faster now, you know.
Yeah, I agree with you. What's funny though is I kind of feel like now, watching the second time again as an adult, yada yada, it feels like it was moving faster this time. Where I was like, oh my God, an hour 45 minutes, this is gonna take forever. And then I started watching it. I'm like, I'm just gonna like break it up into two parts. The next thing I know, I'm an hour in. So I think there was more and more details that I was catching on to, and things that I hadn't noticed. And I was watching with my wife this time, and she was pointing out things, and man, it felt like it flew by. So it was really weird.
Yeah, it's it's like, so to me, I think it's missing kind of the 3-act structure. I think maybe is what it is. It's not like it's not like we're building up to something and then a collapse. It's more like this thing happened, then this thing happened, then this thing happened. Meanwhile, there's this blimp story. It's kind of going on in the background. And then over here, there's something with like losing magic. And then the two will tie together at the end. So it's kind of just a weird structure that almost feels like it would be a really good show. Like this feels like it would be a cool series in a way.
Absolutely. Yeah, because each one of those parts could be its own episode. But I agree with you. I don't know if it's pacing so much as the structure. And I agree. It is a really interesting, weird structure. But I mean, very atypical, I think, for Hayao Miyazaki, which was fantastic. Okay. Yeah, let's break this down, though, so we can kind of go through all the details.
Here we go, guys. We're doing the breakdown starting. I don't have the timer in my hand. Starting now. All right. So we're introduced to Kiki. She's a 13-year-old witch. And she has a talking black cat named Jiji, who is really cool and voiced by amazing Phil Hartman. Kiki, she's going to leave home. This is kind of a tradition for witches. It's to do 1 year somewhere else. And she finds a small town, which is based off of Sweden, Stockholm specifically.
Had no idea.
Yeah, I just looked that up. Kiki meets Tombo. He's a curious boy who's fascinated with flying. Clearly has an eye for her. Kiki faces some difficulties in starting a new delivery business. She's having all kinds of issues. Just that's kind of the point of the movie, really. She does this birthday one for an elderly woman, and she helps her with baking. And it was a really kind of cool moment. There's a whole thing where she discovers this woman out in there's many short stories that happens in this. I'll go with that instead. It's hard to say like all of them, but anyways, Kiki learns that about a blimp accident that eventually Kiki forgets her abilities, or she doesn't have her abilities anymore. And it's presumed that it's due to stress, so she tries to relax. When she's relaxing and still trying to do her job a little bit, there's a blimp accident where Tombo is stuck on a blimp that's losing control and is about to crash into town. And of course, that's her hero moment and really cool visuals of her like gearing up and going. Very cool anime style. She, sure enough, does save the day with the shittiest broom possible and saves Tombo. And we're kind of left there without knowing if she could talk to the cat again, which that bugs me because the cat just says meow. And I was like, no, the cat. Right. But overall, it was a really good movie. And the structure is so unique from Western cultures that I suggest you guys watch it. I'm a little short, but that's pretty much what happened in the movie.
Nice. No, yeah, you did a fantastic job. Yes, I think it is pretty typical. And for me, this isn't my favorite Hayao Miyazaki. It was one of my sister's favorites, so we would always watch it. It'd be like we would split it up into 3 parts almost. And then once it was done, my mom would take it out of the VCR, rewind it, and then put it back in for the next night. And so I've watched this so many times, but I remember as a kid loving individual moments, but also kind of remembering and thinking it was kind of boring. I mean, I kind of feel that way about My Neighbor Totoro, even though it's like one of my favorite movies ever, at least from what I remember. And Kiki's just this interesting character. She's so lovable. You are like rooting for her. She's so positive in the beginning. And yeah, we're kind of going through these just up and downs of her discovering this new city. Yeah. What did you think about her as a character?
I really liked her as a character. She had this moxie that was far older than her age. To think that she's 13 and just basically living on her own now, that's unbelievable. But
I couldn't stop thinking about that.
Yeah, it's crazy. 13, I was like full on Pokemon cards. I couldn't care less about starting a business.
Dude, I couldn't have gone anywhere by myself at 13. I mean, like with my friends down to the store to grab like a soda and candy, but I couldn't like leave a town and go to a different town and set up a life. I just kept thinking about that.
I really liked her. She has, in a way, I guess it's more her story in a way, this positive vibe that kind of reminds me of Ted Lasso. Like, we're so used to conflict in a way that's like detrimental to the character. These weren't that. This was more like the worst case scenarios that happened to her. She got blown around a little bit and she fought off some birds. It wasn't that like super dramatic, but it was just kind of this like, hey, this is the average day and how do you get past it? And I liked that. It was just a little bit jarring to get used to. I'm trying to find a relatable American animation. Can you think of one?
Yeah, well, in some ways, and I think this is because of Christina, credit my wife on this one. I watched a little bit of Turning Red. Okay. Remember that movie? It came out from Pixar. And that one is very punchy too. It has like a lot of catchphrases, but if you kind of put these two movies side by side, I think there is a lot of similarities of themes. And yeah, it's kind of this day in the life of these two girls and what they have to go through in terms of them becoming adults. And I think there's these themes of, not to get heavy right off the bat, but it's like of maturing, of puberty, of self-confidence. And you start like, when my wife told me that, I was like, oh my God, that is what it's about. She's like, she starts losing her powers when she loses her confidence. She starts, there's a boy in there and she doesn't really know how to act. Her friends at first, when she's leaving, are like, you're going to find a cute boy. Yeah. And she's like, yeah, I don't know, maybe. And then she does find this boy is interested in her and she wants nothing to do with him. And she doesn't know what type of witch she is, right? She's flying. Her mom's good at potions. When she's flying to the town, she meets this other girl who's kind of a brat to her and was like, I'm a fortune teller. What do you do? And she's like, I don't know. I can fly. And that's kind of it. So she's really trying to find her place in the world and who she is and her own confidence. And I think it's stepping into her own as a witch.
And I think she sees that actually the dress too is another thing too, where she thinks she should be looking like these girls. Oh, they're so cute and everything. I should be like them. When really it's like, hey, you do you. And she has like this beautiful red bow and stuff. Like you have a look that is cool to other people as well. It's just obviously green on the other side to her. And I think all kids go through that. All teenagers go through that. So there's that. But I mean, honestly, she's so mature for her age in comparison to everybody around her.
Right. I think they even say it in the beginning somewhere. They're like, oh, you seem like an old lady. I think when Tombo first meets her, right, he like tricks the cops, then he rides up on her on the bike and, he tries to spit a little game and she just shuts him down. But he's like, why do you sound like an old lady? And we see she like relates to adults a lot in the movie.
She does more than the kids. And he goes and talks to her and he says you're old fashioned because she's like, you have to be introduced to me before we can talk, which is like something that feels super old fashioned. And this takes place in the 50s. So it must be like a 1920s kind of idea because she does get along with that old lady so much better than she does with Tombo in the beginning. So I think right.
Yeah. So we see a bunch of people that she relates to. I mean, first of all, she's super helpful. She goes into town. She gives the pacifier to that lady and that gets her to the bakers. Right. Yeah. And I love it because, the dad or the main male baker doesn't say anything for most of the movie until something. I can't remember. I don't know if it was when he was looking at Jiji or it's something to do with Kiki when she comes back. I think he's worried about her after she gives him a hug. Yeah. And I love that he's just quiet until this girl kind of softens him up.
He makes the sign for her. I think is what it was.
He makes a sign too.
Yeah.
And it's,
And
I
it's
mean,
like,
that's
that's
adorable.
how he's showing his appreciation. That's
yeah.
cool.
The mom who's the baker, I mean, she's about to give birth. She, you can tell she just thinks she's this adorable girl and she just like wants to help her out. And maybe it's an American bias, but I'm like, God, this is so dangerous. Like this young girl's just going to trust this lady to stay at her house. And I know it's sad that I think that way.
So you're so right. Cause I was the entire time, like, I'm a little worried about this dude baker that's like knows where she sleeps at night. I'm like, be careful, like watch out for creeper vibes.
Right.
And it's like, that's a shame that's where my mind goes, like, be careful, Kiki, you lock those doors. And it's like, first off, this took place in 89. So it's probably a whole different mindset than it is today where we're like super stranger danger kind of awareness. But yeah, I know. Right. I was kind of thinking the same thing. It was like, you got to be more careful than this girl. Call your mom.
Oh, no, absolutely. Actually, I do have a funny story. I don't know if this is a little off track, but when I was 10 years old, we would bring cans to this guy down the street, super nice older Korean guy. And I would fill up a couple trash bags. I had cans and bottles in there and I'd go drop it off to him before I could bring it to the recycle place. And one time after I had brought it to him, I don't know, let's say 10 times, he was like, oh, like, I'll take you to get something, I'll take you to get something at the store. Mm-hmm. And 10-year-old me is like, sounds good. Let's do it. Let's go to the store. So we go to the store and, I was like, ooh, I see this package of Oreos. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'm getting Oreos. But then there was literally a comic book rack when they still had those. Remember they had spinning racks at grocery stores?
Yep.
So I grabbed an X-Men comic and that, and I was like looking at both and I was like, which one do I get? Which one do I get? And I like kind of showed him, I was like, can I get both of these kind of thing? And the guy was like, yeah. So he buys it for me. We walk back to his house and then I'm like, thank you. That I walk home from there, which was like, I don't know, maybe like 10 houses down. Mm-hmm. My mom was like, where did you go? And I was like, well, the old guy down the street, recycle man, got me this stuff. And she was like, what are you doing? Yeah. Why did you go here? And, nothing bad ever happened. He was the nicest old man. I don't know if he lives there anymore. But, nothing ever happened. But it's like, you would want that to be the scenario more. Where back then I was always so worried about somebody like kidnapping me because they would offer me candy from a van.
Well, yeah, literally the 80s was all about stranger danger and stuff like that. And so the fact that so this took place in 89, but it was in Japan. So maybe they had a different mentality than we did. We were hyper aware of it. Like the D&D was the devil and stuff like that at the time. But then, so of the story she's got going on, there's kind of the rich kid, which by the way is voiced by Bobby Hill, if you didn't catch that. Yeah. There's the woman that's in the like whatever cottage, which again, she just stays with her for a few days. For like, how much do you know? You met her once, I know. Yeah. And it's so weird. And then she's got the baker or the old lady that she bakes for. So they're just kind of people she's meeting along the way. The entire time I'm thinking she's 13 years old. What is she doing? Just like in some random other town now. God, it's so weird to grapple with,
Right. Yeah. I kept thinking, I mean, yes, we could go on and on about the age because it just seems so young and she's a girl and everything. And it sucks that, you have to be worried about it at all for any children, but especially for young girls, I think, I think most dads would agree to that. Yeah. But, she meets these amazing people, she puts herself out there and she keeps pushing forward and she's so excited for the adventure and the challenge. And we see it, she can't wait from the beginning of the movie. She's like, mom, tonight's going to be a clear night. Yeah. All of her friends from the town are there to support her. And, she's about to fly off. And right from the get-go, you see that she's not a super skilled witch yet. Yeah. She starts like bouncing off the trees, and everyone's like, I'm going to miss hearing those bells. She goes ding, ding, ding. So it's cool. You get to see someone at the start. I just think that's an awesome tradition too. And, just an awesome tradition for young witches. I think it's just an interesting concept.
I think we should have something similar where you do a year of public service. Like, hey, you have to do 1 year. Maybe it's a high school requirement or something like that, where you have to pick up garbage on the side of the road. Kind of like, we do it with our prisoners, but it would be good if we did it with our students too. So that it's a little bit of a humbling thing, but also like, hey, it's just a thing that you do. Matter of fact, my family's from Portugal, and over there you have to do 2 years in the military. Portugal is very rarely ever in a war. Like they're super neutral. And so the 2 years in the military is really like 2 years fixing bridges, 2 years doing this, doing that. You have to do it out of high school every time. And so I would think it would be cool if we kind of introduced a not military oriented, but like 2 years of doing crosswalk for the elementary school kids. Like, how cool would that be?
Yeah, that'd be great. You know? Although you sound like a socialist, Frank. Damn you, you can't say it. No,
I don't mean no. Think of it as Boy Scouts if you guys are so worried about it. You know, I know. Yeah, I know.
But no, yeah, I think Korea does it as well, like South Korea, right? And yeah,
the BTS is literally not performing now because they're doing their service right now. And it's like, that's BTS. They couldn't get a waiver.
Yeah, but they didn't even want to. I mean, I think they could have got like a special whatever. And yeah, maybe I agree with you. Maybe not in military terms, but like something to give back to your community would be awesome. Like, you know, if it was built into our thinking, you know, I don't know. I people can go down whatever political political route they want here, but I think I still think it's a good thing that you'd want to serve your community.
Yeah, even if it was just like a required elective almost in high school, your first senior year, is that you just go help in an old folks home or something like that. Like, well, that hurt. That'd be so rewarding for everybody involved. Like, that's so good. Yeah. And it just reminds you, like, Kiki's like, the whole point is that she's gone for a year to build who she is and discover what her ability is, which by the end, I don't know what her ability is. I don't think that's ever resolved. But that's the point, is that she goes and figures out who she is and her specialty as a witch, comes back. Well, that's the thing that we could do here is like you go and like, hey, this year I'm going to help out wherever, say at a radio station, because I really like audio engineering. And then eventually after that, okay, I'm going to go to college for this now because I like it. I don't know. Yeah,
I think where I was going with what you were saying was when she was connecting with all of these older people, that was almost a special skill in itself too, where she's connecting with these different people and just helping them out of the goodness of her heart. It's like her special ability might be to connect and to help in whatever way she can, right? Whether, you know, she's like, well, I'm really good at flying, I'm going to start this delivery business. That seems to be going well. But as you see, as she goes on all these deliveries, she's doing more than just delivering the good and saying, hey, sign this, bye. Yeah. She's like helping put the wood fire in the oven. She's helping clean that lady's house so that she can get the cat fixed to deliver it, which was a funny scene. I love Gigi's voice in this, by the way. Like Gigi the
Phil
cat.
Phil Hartman is Gigi. If you guys are familiar with Phil, he used to be a SNL actor. Probably most famously for those of you who aren't familiar with SNL, he's the quote unquote bad guy from Jingle All the Way. And so, or he's from News Radio. He's like the main guy from News Radio. So kind of keep those both in mind, but he's an amazing actor. Unfortunately, we lost him very early on in his age, but he's cool.
Oh man. I wonder. Yeah. I don't know if we have it in the notes of why the voice goes out, but that always is kind of jarring for me. Even as a little kid, when the cat can no longer talk and it doesn't come back. Yeah. That part of me is a trip. To my wife's point, there may be this theme there of, again, the loss of innocence. You know, she doesn't believe in the magic because she doesn't believe in herself. She's unsure of herself. Her self-confidence is down. So she loses all these abilities. And maybe one of them is also being able to hear Gigi.
Do you think she's never going to get it back because now she's an adult?
I like to think she does, right? So if you stick through the credits, you know, we eventually see that her mom and dad get a letter from her. And then you see that she's hanging out with Tombo and his friends. And I like to think that she does get it back. And she hears Gigi and also like Gigi's new kitten
girlfriend
that probably pops up.
I didn't see the credits. I didn't know there was post-credit scenes. I should have done that.
There's some post-credit scenes. Studio Ghibli was the original MCU, man.
See, I got to pay attention to that stuff. Okay, I'll have to check it out. By the way, Kiki's played by Kristen Dunst. So also a big...
What?
No this is way. 89 Kristen Dunst. So this is what she's doing, like Interview with the Vampire. She's about that age.
You just blew my mind. I've always known that voice was like, I'm like, this is so familiar. And I love Kristen Dunst, obviously from the original Spider-Man. Of course. Oh my God, you just blew my mind. That's so crazy.
She was super prolific as a child too. I think she was in Jumanji as well. She was one of the two kids in Jumanji. She was super busy. Of course, if you guys haven't seen it yet, Interview with the Vampire is phenomenal. The old one, I don't know about this new one that's out now. And she plays a little girl that, I don't know, have you seen that before?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
She plays this little girl that they like turn and becomes her daughter, but then she's stuck as a vampire as a little girl for all of eternity. And it's so messed up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know that one kind of gets thrown under, in the list of movies that can't be made anymore in a way, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, I don't know if you want this child. And I think she was literally, I don't know, 14, 15, and she was like making out with Tom Cruise or something. I don't know.
She wanted to, is what the thing is. But he was like, no, you're my daughter. And she's like, I'm fucking 40 now or whatever.
Right.
And so, but it's like, no, you're still to me a little girl. And so it didn't work out. But she was so pissed off that she kept killing people just for the hell of it. And they're like, no, you're wasting food. And so it was, there is a TV series now that's Interview the Vampire. I don't know how it is. I haven't watched it yet. But the movie, I've read the book too when I was a kid. I shouldn't have read it when I was so young, but I did. It's super good as well.
Right on. Yeah. So we also get to see kind of the town and the different people that are in there. When she first gets to town, they don't really like her. And it's also cool because people are familiar with witches. It's not a complete shock that, oh, look, it's a young witch. Like, okay, cool. I love that concept in that world. Like, it's almost like pre-Harry Potter in a way.
It is. And I think I kind of got the vibe of like, this is if superheroes were real. We would have this thing where it's like, oh, hey guys, I'm the superhero for your town now. Just call me like Turbo Man. And I'll just do some Supermaning. And I just thought that was kind of cool. It was like, oh, she's going to be in town. Hopefully she's of help to us, and she was. She saved the day. It was really cool.
So cool. Yeah, definitely. How cool is it living also attached to a bakery? Like everything in there,
bro. It's so good.
Right? I mean, the whole time, everything that they shown in the bakery too, it all looks good. Yeah. I always thought I wanted to eat it, man. Like the different breads, the donuts they pop out. And one weird thing in the movie that I actually like always wanted to eat, and I remember this even as a little kid, once she makes the pot pie with the old lady, the ma'am, and she pulls it out with the I think it was called fish herring and sweet potato pie.
Yeah, so nasty.
It sounds so nasty, but for some reason as a kid, it always looks so amazing.
Yeah.
From when it goes into the oven and how they make it look all this like crispy and warm out of the oven. Mm-hmm. Like the animation in this looks so good that it made me want to eat everything in the movie.
I do want to talk about that a little bit because the animation in this is super pristine. The frame rates aside, just the animation itself, it harkens to, I think, like Five Goes West has that kind of like just next level animation. What's that one that's called like Rescuers Down Under had that where it's like, this animation is above board right now. And this is before Disney Renaissance. And they were just like, hey, we're just going to invest a lot of money in this. Oliver and Company's another one. There's one in particular I'm trying to think of. I can't. Balto. Did I say Balto? Balto's a really good one too.
Not yet. But yeah, Balto's up there as well. And you're right. Those movies. Really good. Yeah, those movies were so ahead of their time for animation.
Yeah.
It was just kind of visually like mind blowing. I think that was the thing. So whether it was Kiki's Delivery Service or My Neighbor Totoro or, Princess Mononoke, like all of this stuff as a kid would blow us away because I kind of got the best of both worlds. We were watching Japanese animation, which was on our regular TV channels. And then we were getting Disney Channel, Nickelodeon stuff as well.
Yeah.
And it was it's so good. I love the part where he shows her the bike for the first time. Tombo, and it has the propeller on the front and he's like, hey, hold on tight. And that scene where he's ripping down the different roads and eventually the propeller falls off is so cool, man. It just looks so incredible as they're taking those turns. I mean, yeah, that's something that I feel like the world is a better place for art because of Japanese animation. And then this movie is an example of that.
Well, and it's almost like I think Japanese embraced it longer. So after this, we had Little Mermaid, and that was the first digitally painted sets for an animation. And I think we saw like this ramp up of like the scale in animation. Like if you look at Lion King, Circle of Life, that's so epic looking. Yeah. But we lost something where we don't have that completely hand-drawn scene like we saw in this movie, or like we see in like Oliver and Company, stuff like that, completely hand-drawn. Man, the work, the effort, and it's just appreciated by the audience, I think.
Yeah, you're totally right. I can't think of anything in American animation that's blown me away lately. I can agree with you that
definitely not lately. Yeah.
Yeah, not lately. Like in Japanese anime, there's still things where I'm like, whoa, how the hell did they do that? We were talking about Demon Slayer a little bit ago, and I think Demon Slayer does that really well with the action. I think Attack on Titan does too. But a movie that I saw recently that has similar tones and a feel in a way, not totally, to Kiki's Delivery Service is a movie called Belle. And you can go watch it. It's on HBO Max right now, but it's a retelling of the Beauty and the Beast story, but through kind of like a Japanese and also like an online, almost like artificial world lens. It's kind of cool. So I recommend that too. But man, as a kid in the early 90s, this movie, Kiki's Delivery Service, blew me away.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It is gorgeous. We have great voice actors, great animation, and a solid story. What else can we talk about on this movie? Because I walked away from it thinking like, okay, that felt very peaceful and relaxed almost. It wasn't like I was like, oh, edge of my seat. Even the action moment, I was like, man, that's a gorgeous looking blimp, really. And I was so confident that it was going to work out, even though she fumbled the ball pretty hard a few times because she's borrowing this like janky broom. I just like, this is a gentle story, I think.
You're so right, man. Okay, two things there. Don't let me forget the second thing, which is her fumbling it at the end. Okay. But the first thing, there are two, for me, really intense moments in the movie. And one of them is when she's trying to deliver the pie and then get back home in the storm before the party. Because she's excited for the party. Tombo invites her, hey, with the Aviation Club. He's all dressed up. And she ends up helping the old lady bake the pie and just spends way too much time with her. It gets caught in the rain and delivers it to this girl who's a complete brat, doesn't appreciate it.
I know.
And and then she tries to get home and gets sick. And I feel so bad for her at that moment where I'm like, I can totally get it. You know, she was like, I don't know if I like this boy, but here's an opportunity to make a new friend and see what happens and maybe get invited to her first like party by herself without her parents. You know, and so I think that moment really does capture what it feels like as a kid to miss something where you want to be at. It's like your first moment of FOMO. But did you get that?
I got that, but I just real quick shout out on the rain animation. Like we talked about how that biking animation was really cool, but so is this rain. Right. It felt like for some reason when you're watching, like, man, this feels heavy. Like this rain feels heavy while I'm watching. That's cool. That was really good job.
It does. And mixed with the sound, I think it scored really well too. So it just
kind of lighthearted in the right times. Like it felt, it was a bouncy soundtrack on this thing.
Yeah, it was. And then you're right with that storm though, it feels heavy, and maybe because it's literally being juxtaposed to light, bouncy music and airy and everything. And then the second part was when the dirigible gets taken away with Tombo. Yeah. You're like, crap, is she not going to be able to save it? And you're like, she has to, right? She's the only one that can. She takes the guy's broom and the broom, I guess, won't cooperate with her. Yeah. I don't know. What'd you think? Why did
I like how all the brooms are have sentience or whatever? Like she's trying to talk to the broom. Like, but dude, that moment where she's sitting there, like focusing, the town's watching her. It's so Matrix when he's about to take off. I love how Neo in the Matrix does this work. Like he pulls his energy in and then launches in the sky. Now we know where they got it from. It was fully Kiki doing that. She was like focusing all the energy, all the magic around her to like take off on the shitty broom. And, and then she's just trying to convince this thing to go straight. Like just don't. Like I love how she's like she's flying towards the blimp, but she's like doing it in the wrong direction and kind of spinning and just like, I'm getting there, guys.
Bouncing off the walls. And exactly. You're so right. Good. When she's so good, when she's charging up, you could see all the bristles on the brush start kind of powering up too. And then to me, it felt so Dragon Ball Z, you know, when they start charging up and the hair starts turning golden and it starts like, I don't know, just swaying. Oh man, it was so good. So
a future challenge because I've never seen a Dragon Ball. So
what?
I know.
Oh my God, so much anime. I mean, there's
my Geek card is trashed now.
No, that is just interesting. It's very interesting. Man, I come from such, you know, especially in Hawaii, a lot of people think, oh, just Hawaiian and interesting. You know, at the time of this recording, we're in Asian Pacific Islander month, and it's just really, you know, a lot of people in Hawaii think we're just Hawaiian or just, I don't know, people think maybe Samoan, but, you know, there's a lot of Asian influence because of when people moved or when Hawaii started getting built out and they started farming the land, they needed people to come work it. Yeah. So they had, you know, obviously they had Hawaiians, but it wasn't enough. They had Japanese, Chinese, Filipino, Portuguese, like all these different people. And I think that's why there is so much Asian influence in Hawaii, along with just mixing pot. I mean, they call it like a big mixing pot I'm very much that way too. I'm Japanese, Chinese, all across the board. And yeah, it felt like this movie as a kid for me, I could relate to in so many ways. And I don't know. Yeah, I think just that.
That's cool. Yeah, I like that you could connect to. I always like the fact that like, so for on my side of things, and I live in Northern California, and for us, the Japanese helped build the railroads on this side. So like we met kind of somewhat in the middle. It's actually closer to our side because we had the Sierras, but yeah. So like my town, like my area is kind of country. You wouldn't realize it. There's literally a little Japan like in a forgotten part of this area. You would totally forget about. But then they film movies there. Like, you ever seen the movie Life with Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence?
Yes. Yeah.
That part where they get caught and have to go to jail. All that's filmed in a town like 2 miles from me. It's Little Japan, and it's just like this really small Little Japan. It's so cool, but you wouldn't know that unless you lived in this area. And so I think it's awesome that you find some connection to this. To me, that I'm so excited about that because like some movies do that to me, and all of a sudden they become, whether the movie's good or bad, more important. Like my Big Fat Greek Wedding or whatever. Like it's I'm not Greek, but it's very much the same how Portuguese people are. And so I just kind of like that it's like, I identify. That's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. My family's just like that.
Yeah.
That's neat. The whole time. And again, like, you were saying, this is based off Sweden. I had no idea. I had no idea where this took place in the world. I had no idea where the time period was. And it kind of makes it feel like its own separate universe. I feel like because of those things, maybe somebody who lived or grew up in Sweden in the 50s would be like, I know exactly where that is. But yeah, it always felt like this land away from everything else when I would watch it as a kid too.
I want to hang out in that freaking city. It's Stockholm is what it's based off of, which I've seen. If you look up pictures of Stockholm, it's gorgeous. And it's like, man, I just want to like live in that town so bad. Cool.
Yeah. Yep.
Right there.
Do you think, my question to you is, and I asked this to Christina too, do you think that Kiki lives in that town forever? Does she ever go back home and return? Because in the beginning, the dad says to the mom, or he says to Kiki, your mom showed up in our town when she was your age, and and obviously she never left. Do you think Kiki never leaves that new town?
I think that's kind of the story as well. Like I like how your wife was saying like it's her becoming an adult. To me, I think it's her finding her new family in a lot of ways because she's building up this friend network that like when she's going through hard times, the woman from the woods comes in and hangs out with her and invites her over. She's just got such a good support system here as a person that's on her own. I think she stays. I think she becomes this town's neighborhood witch. Like she just, becomes their superhero.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Absolutely. I'm so happy you brought up the painter too. Cause I love that relationship they have. It's kind of like girlfriends, but maybe older sister. I'm not exactly sure. Sister
fight because she seems like if she has her own house, she's got to be probably. I was kind of getting like 20-year-old vibe from her.
Yeah, I got like maybe late 20s from her as well. Also, some of the jokes are like, whoa, these jokes are for adults. Yeah, in the movie. But before we go down that path, the painter says something just super beautiful to her, where she's talking about, there was a time I didn't want to paint anymore. I couldn't figure it out. I didn't know what my style was. I tried copying everybody, and I realized like I can't do that. I can't focus on all the problems. I kind of just, some of the problems will, let's see, soon enough you'll be flying, I think is what she says to her. It's like, kind of don't focus on your problems and you'll get your powers back. And I just love that scene in the sleepover because, it wasn't this big climactic part, but I felt something watching Christina and thinking of my sisters or thinking of other women in my life. There's that part where they're like, I'm not going to maybe be like the Hollywood starlet, or maybe I don't have to be, or maybe I can be my own person or have my own confidence or have my own definition of beauty. And I don't know, just that whole conversation just really hit hard for some reason when I was watching this movie.
So you have such a good perspective on it because you have sisters and a wife. So I like that you're kind of looking at it that way. That makes more sense to me than what, because to me, I wasn't fully grasping that side of it, but it makes sense now.
This sucks. This is boring as hell.
Meanwhile, when I watch Hook, I'm like, I want to be one of the Lost Boys. Give me a sword.
Yeah.
So it's to each their own. But yeah, I mean, overall, I just thought it was a delightful, cute story. A little slow, but like relaxing pace. I don't want to necessarily say slow pace. Because I by no means am dogging it for that aspect. I'm saying it's relaxed paced, where I was like, oh, okay, so we're going adventure to adventure, not just act 1, 2, 3.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's not these like high points of action and drama for sure. And if you're looking for that, this is probably not your movie. But if you're looking for, yeah, this just deep character building, deep world building, just to experience something new, I think this is a great movie to do that. And if you've never been into any type of anime or seen any type of Japanese animation, whether it's this movie, it's My Neighbor Totoro, again, Princess Mononoke, Howl's Moving Castle, all of them are so visually stunning that there's always something in the shot that's worth checking out. It's like looking at a painting. And I know it's like cinema, they're moving pictures, but this is really like looking at a painting and just moving through to the next beautiful scene. It's just, oh man, it's captivating for me.
If you guys, and I can't suggest this enough right now, the reason we're releasing this episode now, Fathom Events is releasing another episode, or one of these movies every month in theaters, and this is the movie for this month. So check out Fathom Events. You know, they're at like every theater across the country, and you can go see this movie in theaters like it was originally released. And I can imagine like some of these beautiful scenes where she's flying through town on the big screen like that would be so cool. So check that out, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
All right. Are you ready for some fun facts?
I think it's time.
Okay, there we go. During the production phase, I always mess up his name. Hayao Miyazaki.
Hayao Miyazaki.
Hayao Miyazaki, thank you. And his artists traveled to Sweden to research for the film. The photographs they took of Stockholm and Visby formed the basis of the fictional city Curico. The city also contains elements of Lisbon, Paris, San Francisco, and Milan. So,
wow.
Okay. Kind of traveled around there, but Lisbon's a beautiful city as well. Yeah. So that's all cool.
Dang. I was wondering, it seems so vaguely European. Like I was trying to say the bakery name, and it's like Hooger, blah, 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 blah. But like, I'm like, I don't know how to say that. Where is it supposed to be? Never considered even looking it up.
and the way the buildings are built with like almost like white brick and stuff like that, like this is definitely old Europe. I just couldn't figure out like what was going on necessarily, but it was gorgeous. The story takes place in an alternate 1950s Europe where World War I and World War II never happened. Miyazaki nailed it. Has been quoted saying that the fictional city of Kokiro has one side of the shores of the Mediterranean Sea, and the other side is the Baltic Sea. So it kind of gives you an idea. It's like all inspired by Sweden and stuff like that, but he kind of wanted it to be the Mediterranean Sea that's right there.
Wow, what a cool concept. I mean, it's such a cool city that he comes up with. And yeah, just combining things from different places, it feels totally unique.
I wish I watched the credits. Here's the next one. Miyazaki didn't want to bore the audience during the film's end credits by using just names. He set it up like a mini sequel so the audience would leave with the cinema feeling happy. Yep. I'm going to go back and watch the credits now. I can't believe I missed all that.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm glad, because I wanted to see what names would pop up and the voice actors and, who knows. But I always kind of do that. I always just leave it on the background, even when the movie's done, just to see what pops up. And yeah, you get this whole kind of story about her hanging out with Tombo and his friends, her kind of moving on with her, I guess, delivery career. And then you get like a post-credit scene where the dad again gets a letter from Kiki and tells the mom, and this potion blows up in her face. And it's a funny story. And they're kind of happy for her. It seems like they've maybe had peace that their daughter is doing well. And you're like, oh, nice. It puts you in such a good mood. Such a good mood.
This entire movie does that, though, to be honest with you. It's a really good mood booster. It's something to kind of keep in mind, too, with it being also Mental Health Awareness Month. A movie like this is something good to kind of escape with.
Yeah.
We've got two more, okay? And they're my favorite ones, actually. When Kiki arrives in the city, she is almost hit by a bus bearing the name Studio Ghibli. This is the name of Miyazaki's animation studio. Ghibli is also seen on two other buses in the movie. So like the bus line for the town is Ghibli, basically.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. I know that is cool. He kind of Pixar's it a little bit too. I mean, he puts his own name in there, and also I think it's in Spirited Away. Jiji is on a blanket in the background.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. That's cool.
This is my favorite one. Okay, so Ursula the painter. Ursula's painting is titled The Ship Flying Over the Rainbow, and it was painted by students of a school for challenged children. So
I love that.
Yeah, so he actually was like, let me put your painting in my movie. Like, how freaking cool is that?
That's so cool. Dang it. I wish we ended on that one. I do have one because I just like
you bastard. We're gonna end on my good one.
I know. That was like the best one to end on, but here, let me screw it up. This because I literally stopped in my tracks and sent a picture to my sisters. When she goes on her first delivery, on the map, all the names are in Hawaiian from Maui.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's so cool.
And I was like, wow, that blew me away. I was like, why are these Hawaiian names? Which again, like what a connection, like makes me feel more connected to the movie. But yeah, that was so weird. So apparently it's a map of Maui.
Going through the list of cities, none of them would make sense for that. That's weird that he did that then.
Right. Like,
he's
where
just
did that
a fan.
come from?
Yeah, maybe he's just a fan of the islands.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Yep. Aloha.
I completely did not look at my notes this entire. Why do I write notes, Thomas? Why do I write notes?
I don't know. I like starred 3 things and I think I read them all, or I said them all. Didn't read any of them.
That's fair. I think I've said all of these. Yeah, Bobby Hill's voice, blah 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 blah. The only thing that I made sure to read a few times and I botched it was how to say Miyazaki's name up on top, and I still botched it.
Hey, I'm Japanese and I took Japanese for 3 years. I have a hard time saying it too. So
man,
don't even worry about it.
Let's give a review for this movie. What do you want to go first?
I'm gonna have to think about it for a second.
Okay.
Sorry. Yep.
This movie is a great introduction to anime as a genre and an appreciation to animation as a whole. This reminds us of the long lost art of hand-drawn animation and the beauty it can bring to you. The pacing is relaxed and comforting and leaves you wanting to visit this small little city and join Kiki on her adventures. 5 stars or whatever we're doing. 5 brooms. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. I love it. Man, yeah, that was well done. So for me, a fantastic Japanese animation movie, very classic of Hayao Miyazaki's movies. It is very light and airy. The characters are positive. There's a lot of wonder and magic in the city itself. Kiki is a fun and bright character that you want to go on these journeys with. This to me is a perfect movie for kids. It doesn't have a lot of maybe bad things that parents wouldn't want kids to see. Maybe I'll write that probably differently on the actual review. And a fun Japanese animation where I think people of all ages can enjoy it.
So again, this is basically my first time watching any of these Ghibli movies. Where should I go next?
So the movie I really wanted to recommend was, again, My Neighbor Totoro. I love that movie. I think that's my favorite of the Hayao Miyazaki movies. Spirited Away is great. I know a lot of people out there love Princess Mononoke. Yeah. And I think those are the most popular ones. I don't know if there's another one that somebody would consider like, well, how could you miss this? But I don't have them in front of me.
I've seen Howl's Moving Castle when it first came out, but I don't remember. I saw it because the girl I liked it, and so we watched it together, yada, yada, yada. I wasn't paying attention to the movie. So I need I'd like to start diving in. Yeah, I need to start diving into these. And I think to me, Princess Mononoke, that seems so cool. Like the little bit I have heard about that movie. So I think I'll go with My Neighbor Totoro. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. I think I'll go right through your whole list. I think I'll watch them all. Okay. All right, guys. I'm on a Ghibli adventure. Here we go.
Absolutely. So speaking about next adventure, do we have a challenge?
We do. We are going to be watching one of India's biggest films ever released. It is pronounced, I even double checked the pronouncing, RRRR. RRR. Damn, I added an extra R.
You sounded like a pirate for a second.
No, it's RRR. We're going to be watching that. I'm going to be watching the dubbed version. And so I've been hearing it's really good. You had a chance to watch that, right?
I have watched it before. Oh my God. I'm happy that you're throwing this out there though. It's such a great movie. I've been wanting to watch it again and I was hoping you'd choose this at some point. So man, RR is awesome. Yeah. It's a movie with so much in it and it's just great. It's just great. It shouldn't make sense. And sometimes it doesn't, but it still works.
I really want to see it because not only does the trailer is just insane, but I have multiple theaters around me. That's California life. We've got a lot of theaters around me. One of them is across from I might be saying this right, a Hindi temple, a place of worship for them. And the theater there, which is actually my go-to theater, airs movies, Indian movies all the time.
Oh yeah, like Bollywood movies.
Bollywood movies, and they're in Hindi, or you could watch them either way, whatever movie time you go to. And
cool.
RRR, I was about to say RRR is like a reoccurring movie they put back in the theater all the time. So like one of the screens is always showing an Indian movie, and I was just like, I really want to. I'm hoping to kind of maybe catch one of those screenings and see this thing in the theaters.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
And
nice.
So I gotta see if I can time that just right. I gotta look at when they're gonna do it, because they do like random movies throughout the day in Indian. So that'd be really cool.
Wow, that's so cool. Well, I'm super excited you chose it. It's a great movie. I think I've heard little rumors because of the writer's strike, we may see more Bollywood type movies and shows coming out.
Good.
If they're like RRR, I am so down for that.
I love any little bit of Bollywood. Sometimes I'll just get like in a Bollywood YouTube whole spiral where I'm watching the dances all the time, and I'm just like, oh shit, 2 hours went away. No. Yeah.
You ever get up and try any of them?
No, not at all. I'm an appreciator of the arts. That's where I stay. I'm not an artist, but yeah, they are dope. I'm looking forward to it.
Very cool.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you guys later. We'll see you guys next week.